Call the meeting to order for October 12th, 6 p.m. Townshend Selectboard, which is being recorded by BCTV and is being transmitted via Zoom to participants that are on that call. First thing we have is approval of minutes from 9/14 and 9/28. I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion about the minutes? Okay. The only thing I will add to it is Connie has done an excellent job in getting these all caught up. There was a lot of them, a lot of listening and a lot of attention to it. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. Okay. Under additions and deletions, we have a permit to use the town hall by the school department for, let's see, looks like November 15th, but we'll deal with that under new business. And, all right, let's move right into members of the public. Betsy Bosiak is representing Green Mountain Power. What can we help you with?
Okay. I believe I'm a right-of-way agent with Green Mountain Power. I don't know where you want me to stand.
You sit right there. Go ahead, sit down. You don't have to stand up.
And I'm working on some projects on Route 30. I had started them before COVID, then COVID shut me down, and I'm back working on them again. My projects start just above the dam, and I have it's divided into 3 projects, and they end just right around Sawdust Alley.
Okay.
And one of the reasons I'm here, I had left with Connie copies of the plans for all of the projects. But you own a property, I'm not sure if you call it the Taft Meadow or what you...
It's Taft Meadows.
Taft Meadow, okay. There is an existing easement on part of it, but we're replacing all the poles on that whole thing. So I had written a new easement because the existing easement doesn't cover everything. It stops partway through that the previous owners had signed.
Mm-hmm.
There is also, but we don't need an easement because we're just replacing lines on this property, the line that goes from across the street over to the pole that's over here between the buildings and then serves both buildings here. And then the lines will go, as they do today, right across in front of where the library property is. Okay. And so, like I say, I had an easement that I had left with Connie for the Taft Meadow property.
So that's what you're looking for right now?
Yeah, well, if you can sign it when you all have had a chance to look at it.
Okay.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions about
What is the difference between the old easement and the new easement?
The old easement doesn't cover the whole property. It stops where the croziers are, and we're also putting in new poles there. And the new poles, there's more poles because they're closer together, because our new lines are heavier and different type of wire than what the old wire was. So, you know, just trying to make you aware of that.
So would your easement be further into the field?
Pretty much runs right along the same line as what it is today. If you go out and look, there are some stakes that are out there. Mm-hmm. And there would be stakes behind the stake. The pole numbers would be on the stakes. And then behind that, maybe 12 feet or so, there would be anchor easements for some of these poles. And that would say A and C for anchor. That is there, and if anyone wants to go out and view it, I'd be happy to come out and meet with you.
Those posts might have been moved because it just got mowed, right? I wonder.
I haven't been by for a few days, but I don't...
It did just get mowed, yeah.
It got mowed, yes. It got mowed over the weekend.
So I'm wondering if the stakes are still there.
Stakes are still in.
Yeah.
We have your, does anybody else have any questions for Betsy?
I don't from what I'm understanding, you want the whole entire piece of property for an easement?
Well,
Or you're looking for, instead of 25 feet, you're looking for 40 feet or whatever?
yeah, the way we write them, if you look at it, it just says along the pole line as it's staked, and it runs from pole to pole, which is on the plans that I gave you. And I highlighted on one set of plan.
Well, Betsy, I don't think they have them.
We
Okay.
haven't seen those.
Oh, okay.
What we plan to do is listen to what you were talking about and then review this outside the meeting. So you won't get your signature today.
I didn't expect to.
But
Yeah.
once the board's had a chance to review all these things and maybe come up with questions,
Oh, yeah.
Connie can
And-
give you a call back if we need
Sure.
anything else.
And I can,
When are the projects? When is that project due to happen?
as soon as possible, they want to try to build them out next year. It depends on what they have to do for Act 250, on some of it. I'm not sure, I don't handle that, I just obtain the easements that are needed. And,
Well, we saw your map, or at least I've seen your maps. They haven't had a chance to.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
fine.
that spells out quite a bit of what you're looking for.
sure,
Okay?
Yeah.
Connie will be in touch with you.
yeah, that's fine, and I'll give you, if you have other questions, I can leave my card for each one of you.
Thank you.
Okay, and
Thank you.
yeah, and like I say, if anyone wants to meet to review it, I'm more than happy to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, you have one.
Well, she's here. Is there any other question from anybody?
No.
Okay. All right, Betsy, we'll look at it and
Okay.
we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Okay. Irv?
I got a question, that, unless it's town property, there's only a 24-foot 3-inch right-of-way on any down highway from the center of the road.
Okay, V-Trans says they have a 33-foot right away from the center of the road.
Well,
And
we
I don't know what you're saying.
may have, but town highways are different.
Oh, well, I don't go on the town highway, I'm totally on Route 30.
That I say,
Yeah.
because they've done that right over across the covered bridge,
Yeah.
they had stakes, and they didn't even put the goddamn poles where the stakes were. They changed them to them.
I don't know, that was not my project, sir.
No, but I say that's what they do, if they decide they want to go somewhere, they do.
Okay. Betsy, like I said, we'll give you a call and after everybody gets a chance to review the material.
And like I said, if you have any questions, certainly give me a call, I'm up here, and will be.
Will do. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
The next piece of,
I figured out.
the next piece of business is, members of the public is Jenny Kessler, and she's presented some documents relative to an issue in town. And rather than me trying to explain it all, I'm going to leave it to her. Go right ahead.
Okay, good evening. I wrote a letter to the select board that hopefully you've all received, and in response to something that happened in town, a Nazi flag being displayed in our community. We've had 299 people from Townshend and local communities sign it, so I'm just gonna read the letter, if that's okay?
Go right ahead.
I wrote this on October 8th. To the Townshend Select Board. On Thursday, September 16th, there was a Nazi flag flying at the private residence of 2015 Route 30. It's very possible the flag was there before then, but I saw it on September 16th. The flag was no longer there in the afternoon of Monday, September 20th. The flag's presence corresponded with the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year in the Jewish religion, and came down on Sukkot, which marks the end of Jewish holidays. I was deeply disturbed to see a Nazi flag hanging in my community. This home is located in the center of town, very close to both Leland and Gray and Townshend Elementary School, where my son is a pre-K student. It's also a few steps from the library where children and adults go to enjoy time with their families and borrow books. It's also on the way to Grace Cottage, where many local residents receive their medical care. The Nazi flag is an internationally recognized symbol of hatred and violence. Flying a swastika during Jewish high holidays equates to intimidation, and it makes our schools and libraries less safe and welcoming for all. Townshend is a welcoming and diverse community that values people of all backgrounds, races, religions, and identities. I fully understand the value of free speech. However, there's no value in flying a flag that represents the murder of at least 6 million people. While the town cannot legally prohibit a certain flag.
Hold on. Whoever's on the feed, you did mute it. Okay, I want to be able to hear you.
Yeah, I understand.
Go ahead.
I fully understand the value of free speech. However, there is no value in flying a flag that represents the murder of at least 6 million people. While the town cannot legally prohibit a flag from flying on private property, the town can and should condemn such hostile actions to the community at large. The Select Board leads our community. It sets an example for everyone who lives here, young and old, and also for visitors and neighbors, members of our West River Valley and Windham County communities. We respectfully ask that you lead by issuing a statement confirming our community values and speaking out against acts of exclusion and hatred. The signers of this letter humbly ask the Select Board to release a public statement such as the following. The town of Townsend values all residents and visitors, no matter their backgrounds or identities. While differences of opinions can be celebrated and debated, we condemn symbols of hate being displayed in our town, in disregard of the welcoming nature of our community as a whole. This statement of community values is inclusive of everyone in our community. It also shows shared values with our neighboring towns, as the Select Boards of Jamaica, Dover, and Newfane have issued similar statements, which I'll read in the addendums. We ask Townsend to likewise show that the town values all members of our community, their happiness, and their safety. This statement does not commit to legislative or law enforcement action, and it is well within our norms, traditions, and the scope of the Select Board's legal authority. Remaining silent in the face of a Nazi flag in our community is not an option. We must make it clear that we as a community do not condone the public display of this infamous hate symbol, that we do not tolerate bullying and racism, and that we do not condone our residents feeling intimidated and openly hated. We can't be a community that allows racism to fester, encouraged by our silence. By failing to stand up for what is right, we become a community that tolerates bullying, threats to our neighbors, and racism. Thank you for your service and your leadership. Sincerely, myself, Jennifer Kessler, and 299 undersigned local residents, including 67 Townsend residents, 48 people who work in Townsend, 18 Townsend business owners, 30 parents of a child in Townsend schools, 20 Townsend school alumni, 4 Townsend town volunteers or employees, and 101 patients of Grace Cottage. And I'm going to read the addendums.
Hang on just one second. As far as the addendums go, they are a little bit, I understand where they're at, but they're a little bit different circumstance in those communities as there was here. And I'll get into that. So why don't you hold off on that?
Okay.
We'll take other people's comments, and then I'll give you what I'm talking about.
Okay. We also have many people. I think we have 105 people who submitted their own comment or statement when they signed the letter. Would it be okay if I read some of those?
Let's get everybody that wants to speak an opportunity to speak, and then we'll move on from there. Okay. I have read them. I've read all. I spent this afternoon reading all of them, so I know what they say.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anybody in the room that would like to speak about this? Go ahead. Just could you give your name, please?
Yeah. My wife Ella and I, my name is Matthew Dean. My wife Ella and I moved to Townsend just over a year ago after I graduated from seminary. I'm a minister in the area, pastor of Marlboro Meeting House in Marlboro, Vermont. I just really wanted to show up in support of this letter and to ask that the Select Board respond to this incident. We understand that this is not, when I say we, I mean my wife and myself. We understand that this is, the question before you is not, whether folks in town have a First Amendment right to express whatever hateful or crass thing they would like, but rather will the town, which represents us, stay silent in the face of this thing. We're very worried about the impact this is having on Jewish folks in particular, but people of color broadly. After all, the Nazi flag has been used and wielded for generations variously to harass and to denigrate and to intimidate folks of color, and again, especially Jewish folks. So it is my prayer that this select board, and I speak for my wife as well, who isn't able to be here, but she also would very much like the select board to issue a statement condemning that speech. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to add to that? You're welcome to.
I'm just here to support the same issue, to try to, I'm from Wyndham, so.
Your name, ma'am, to start
Cindy
off.
Smith, but I think, you know, the towns are so close and everything, so, and we drive by almost every day. So I'd just like to support the select board and possibly drafting a statement of inclusion.
Okay. I'll ask one more time. Go ahead, sir.
I'm Jay Warren, I live in West Townsend, and I just also here to support the letter as written. So I just wanted to be on record and in person to support it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm also here in support of this.
And your name?
Alex Sorensen.
Alex Sorensen. Okay, Alex. There are a number of people on the Zoom call. Is there anybody that's on the Zoom call that wishes to speak? Now, the easiest way is the ones that have turned on their cameras, just raise your hand and we'll call out the names. If we don't hear anything, okay. Let's see, is it Linda? Okay, can you turn her microphone on?
There, am I unmuted?
You are unmuted. Your name, please?
Okay, Lyndall Bowl. I live in Brookline and get my medical care at Grace Cottage and was on the board of We Live in Gray. I'm here representing NAACP for Wyndham County. We were most disturbed by this, as you can tell, and particularly, we really need to I live in Brookline and have persuaded the Brookline Select Board to make a statement condemning this. We need a statement from Townshend. We also need a statement from the schools about this, because we cannot tolerate this hate and divisiveness in our county. We need people to move in, we all know that, and this is precluding people feeling safe and comfortable. Thank you, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I see Stephen.
Actually, that's Stephen.
Okay, Stephen. Go ahead.
Okay.
Stephen, could you just give your name, please? Your whole name?
Yes, Stephen Brandstatter from Brattleboro. I'm on a committee known as the Committee Against Anti-Semitism that's rooted, based out of our synagogue. I just want to say that I support free speech, of course, but that shouldn't nullify the need for a response that shows a sense of solidarity, if not total solidarity, to what can become cancerous if you don't at least treat it with something. One Nazi flag on property, private property, can easily multiply into multiple properties, and still all on the basis of free speech. So I think by the power of response, we can at least try to minimize the freedom to do so.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. I have Scott, Center Congregational, with his hand up. Do you have that one?
Thank you. I'll make my comment brief. Yes, my name is Scott Cooper, and I'm the minister of the Center Congregational Church in downtown Brattleboro. And I'm also the chair of the Brattleboro Area Interfaith Leadership Alliance. And I'm also a member of the Community Equity Collaborative. While I do not speak on behalf of Center Congregational Church or BILA or the CEC, I do wish to state that personally and individually, that I really hope that the Townshend Select Board agrees to this proposal and speaks against any waving of Nazi flag on private or especially on public property. So I really affirm the correspondence, and I support the request. Thank you very much for offering me this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Is there anybody else? Okay, I have, it says Swift. Okay, your name, please?
Yep, Swift Everdy, yes. Hi, I'm on the Putney Equity and Inclusion Advisory Committee for the town of Putney, and just speaking to the way that Putney has navigated this very recently with the swastikas that were vandalized on stop signs, if anyone has followed, the way that the select board navigated that and made a statement with some bumbling and making mistakes, the way that often does happen, but we're able to get a statement out, and would also put in another request for a statement of condemnation. I also am putting in the chat a announcement for an event that's going on that is directly experience in Vermont that is being put on virtually in October, and I'll put that in the chat, and hopefully that can be put in the minutes for people to access. And thanks.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else that would like to speak? Especially people that are from Townsend. Okay. Juliet Carr, go ahead.
Hi. I'm Juliet. I'm not from Townsend. I'm from Newfane, but my kids are, come here, you want to be here? My kids are in this school district, and how Townsend, hi, are you on this too? Okay. How Townsend responds to this sort of display really affects how we as a family feel in this school district in terms of our welcome. We're a Jewish family, and there's actually kind of a lot of us out here in the valley, and overwhelmingly we feel totally welcome and part of this community. But when something happens, like a swastika going up during Yom Kippur across from the schools that my kids are supposed to go to, this is our public schools, that for us is really concerning, and it dramatically affects how we feel as members of this community. And I know I'm not a resident of Townsend, but resident of the school district, and it would mean a lot to me personally and to my family for you to make a statement of community values in terms of where we are as a West River Valley community. And I appreciate you taking this up.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I don't see anybody else looking to speak on the Zoom call. Want to get back to the point about the other communities. The other communities were making general statements. They didn't have an individual. My concern is with a statement, we have to be very careful that we don't zero in on somebody. We can't, if we make the wrong step, and I'm not saying not making a statement. What I'm saying is we need to make a careful step in this direction. And my thought is that we'll take it the next 2 weeks to review this material, all of this material that came in today, and submit it to the town's attorney so that we're making sure that we're making the statement that impacts, but a statement that also doesn't cause us liability. Does that sound reasonable? I mean, all of the things that you say can be condensed and be part of a statement, and I don't think anybody at this table condones anything about what happened. I want us to be careful that the statement is correct and it doesn't violate somebody's constitutional rights. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, definitely, and I really appreciate that. You know, that was just a suggestion of a statement that could be inclusive. I certainly don't think it would be helpful in any way to zero in on any member of the community.
Right.
Like, nor should we. It's more just letting people know if something like that is displayed, that's not who we are, that's not representative. We've put this out that we, you know, welcome everyone and value everyone.
Right, you're asking for that 2-sentence statement.
Yeah.
I don't, there's no like material to be reviewed, but.
Sure there is. There's all of this.
I mean, yes, there's a lot of statements, but this 2-sentence statement doesn't point fingers at anyone. It doesn't.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. If we had a group that is just as bad as this group, or as this the situation across the street, petition the select board to support their thing, perfect, without change, edit, or review, is that right? I'm talking, you can have anybody from the KKK to the skinhead Nazis to anybody else. Should the board take on a statement that is not reviewed by an attorney and just blanket go with it, because it sets precedent? That's the thing. Whatever we say or do, whatever these other towns say, have said or done, has set a precedent. I want to make sure our precedent is the right precedent. So,
And I wouldn't be surprised if these other towns vetted it through an attorney too.
Yeah. I think that's the wisest thing to do. It involves a huge amount of the population, either in town or around town. And there are certainly going to be people that are well in favor of us doing it, and then there's going to be a percentage of them that aren't. So I think that, like I said, I think the best course of action is to make sure that our attorney looks it over and we have time to digest this stuff and create our own statement that reflects. Does that sound reasonable to you as the petitioner and member of the public?
Yeah, it does to me.
Anybody else have an opinion about it?
Would the process be that the attorney reviews it and then presents it to you all, and then
Yes.
Is there an opportunity for public discussion after that attorney review?
I don't see why not. I don't see why not. If it's ready for our next select board meeting, where we have to vote on releasing it, so it has to be a public meeting. You are certainly welcome to come. You're always welcome to come to any of the board meetings. But we'll certainly be welcome to come and see. And if there's something that we can agree on to put out, we can give it to Jenny to send. I'm sure you have a list of these people that you could send it out. But that's the way it works. I mean, and I'd like to make one other comment about this whole process. If anybody in town resident wants to address the select board, they just need to come in there. If you want a specific agenda item added, send it to Connie with the paperwork that you want reviewed or looked at by the board, and you can be put on the agenda, or you can just come in like this, just like this. No restrictions. Okay? All right. Does anybody else have any comments or input? No? You all set?
I do. I definitely think it's important for us to work on this statement, but I also question what we as a community can do to help the situation at large, which is mental health. I think that's the biggest thing, that the elephant in the room of this conversation with this individual that lives in our community. I would offer all of us to like look a little deeper into the mental health part of this, because it's a very serious thing. Having an unstable person in our community needs to be seen and is obviously wanting attention. So it's just something worth noting, I guess.
Go ahead, Jenny.
just in speaking to members of the community about taking action on this, people who are involved in mental health have told me that there are many efforts being made in that area, that there hasn't been progress because this residents are climbing. So I agree with you. I think, like this statement says, we value all residents, including people who might do things that we strongly disagree with, and we need to support them as well. So I think people are doing that work, but it's been difficult, and I agree that we need to continue thinking about how that can evolve.
Okay. All right, who is that?
Linda Bowl.
Yeah, go ahead and let her back in.
I add something?
Yeah, all right ahead.
Linda Bowl again. I think to get into the mental health aspect of this is a little fraught with problems right now. I don't think we should zero in on that. I think our mission and our aim is to address the hate, the cruelty, the hurt to people in the community because of the flag. I think to get into the individual proclivity for doing this has some danger to it, and I'm not sure it's appropriate for a select board. So I would just like to open, maybe not even open discussion, but just state that
I very much
get rid
agree.
of this hatred and cruelty in our community, and that's our mission, to make people feel safe and welcome.
I very much agree. There's only limited things that we can do, and we don't need to pour gasoline on something that could really blow up in our face. I see one Keats. Is that Keats?
Yeah.
Could you state your name, please?
Hi, I'm Keats Diefenbach. I'm a resident of Marlboro. Am I allowed to speak?
Yeah. We've allowed other people, just, time constraint.
Thank you. As I said, I live in Marlboro. I am a member of the West River Valley Mutual Aid DEI working group, and I'm also a member of the LGBTQ community. I'm also relatively new to the region. I moved here a year ago, and I just wanted to speak for a moment to the impact that that these acts of hatred have on all marginalized groups, that it's not just the Jewish community which is impacted, as if that weren't enough. I mean, it's horrible that the Jewish community is impacted, but the more time that goes by, that the select board, dawdles and sends it to the attorney and, finds reasons to listen to the town members that are opposed to opposing hatred, the more time that goes by in that process, the less decisive the action is. And in terms of what we can do as a community to try to eliminate hatred, what we can do is to marginalize it with decisive action. And, do what you need to do. I'm glad that the petitioner feels that, your actions taken are reasonable. But please do keep in mind the impact on all marginalized members of our community at large and our surrounding region and neighboring towns and in Townshend. And I really urge you to take decisive action and to also emphasize that mental illness does not cause people to do hateful things. The person who did this may have a mental illness, but both these acts can coexist. You can be a person who is anti-Semitic and also a person who has mental illness. One does not cause the other.
Well,
so
Keats, that's as far as we want to go with that, because that impinges on a place that we don't need to be. That's not part of the decision.
I completely agree. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. All right, so we'll close it out here. I don't see anybody else. And we'll follow that process that outlined, and we'll get you an answer.
And so the timeline would be hopefully within
I would
2
really
weeks.
like to get it done by next meeting. I don't think this needs, you're talking 4 lines at the most. They need to be impactful, but they also need to respect people's right to freedom of speech and religion and all the other things that we're guaranteed under the Constitution. So I don't think there's any benefit in dragging it out either. So just like I said before, I want to make sure that it's the right type of statement for everyone. Okay? Okay. All right. right, so we're done, we'll close that unless there's any other questions from the board. No? Okay. Thank you for coming. Thank you for putting this forward so we start the conversation. Okay? Thank you. All right, so let's move on. Valley Cares. We got a letter from Valley Cares. It says, to whom it may concern, Valley Cares wishes to thank you very much for once again granting the use of the town common for their 5th annual benefit concert. The concert was a success, and community involvement such as yours. Sincerely, Jean Albee, board member for Valley Cares. All right. Go ahead, Rob, with the warrants.
Make a motion to pay the warrants, starting with number 1, payroll, in the amount of $11,854.55. Number 2, payroll tax, in the amount of $4,958.99. Number 3, the general fund, in the amount of $54,783.69. Number 4, the highway fund, the amount of $32,205.44. Number 5, the equipment fund, in the amount of $21,555.79, for a total of $125,358.46.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion about any one of the 5 warrants? All set. Okay. All right. With no discussion, all those in favor of paying check warrants in a total of $125,358.46 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well. Any opposed? 5-0. All right, next up, we have the reports. Steve, go ahead.
We've completed the V-Trans Better Roads Grant project on Back Wyndham Road. The Grants in Aid project has been completed on Winslow and Adams Road. As of this morning, there has been no salt bid awarded yet for this season. I got a call from Sersasimo today announcing a price increase for this season of $1 a yard, bringing it to $16 a yard, and also notifying us that this will be the last year that we can get sand from Sersasimo. Their pit has reached its life expectancy. So we will be shopping for prices as I prepare the 2023 materials budget. And Wyndham Hill paving project was completed this afternoon. I put in an email to Megan Brunk because a national shortage of paving marking materials has caused V-Trans to reduce the amount of centerline pavement that they'll be able to do this year. Because it's a newly paved road, I try to get us on the list so we can have it striped as soon as possible.
Okay. Any questions of Steve?
Will they put those little tabbies down in the meantime, or no? Just, okay.
Same issue with the trash bags, there's just not enough plastic available. Okay. Treasurer's report, the municipal investment fund has $935,147.65, and the checking account is $30,000. Town clerk's report is in your packet. This is the town clerk's report is the counter money that comes in from different requests for records and registrations and things like that. She's also letting us know that she's working on getting the town clerk to have the ability to accept credit cards and ATM cards for records processing fees. And she's also looking into a opportunity or an option of digitizing the land records to reduce the amount of time spent on such things. She'll be back with us when she's got some proposals, but it's a good time because it is budget season. So, and let's see, that takes care of that. There is I don't have anything to update. There's no old business. New business is Wyndham Central Supervisory Union is looking to have basically auditions for the play, for one of their plays. They have insurance certificate on file with us, and this will be on November 11th, 2015, or 2015. November 15th, 2021. There we go. From about 1:30 to 2:30 upstairs.
The supervisory union does plays?
No, I imagine it's the middle school or the high school that's doing the play.
Oh, okay.
This is auditions. The supervisory union asks for it because the insurance and everything's controlled out of there, so. Yeah, that would be interesting. Any objections to signing off on this and allowing the thing to move forward?
No.
All right. So all we have no executive session. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be October 26th at 6 o'clock, both on Zoom and in person. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All right, well, that's it.